because they don't shy to use even the native language. So they're mainly concerned about like how they can cover the concept, how they can well explain the concepts. Okay, so to conclude, even though they focus very little on the language issues, in an English medium environment, we see they create an environment where students get opportunities to practice, to develop their language skills. And in the subsequent interviews, students mentioned that they have seen evidence, they've seen changes in their language skills. They feel more comfortable, confident after attending EMI classes. So even though EMI, in case of EMI, the learning space is not limited to the classroom only, rather it goes beyond that. So we see kind of implications of this in case of perception experience of teachers in private universities, and it will provide greater understanding of the EMI classroom and underlying learning space within the classroom. And also in the future, it will help us to develop teacher programs, like how we can teach or train teachers. And finally, in this article, we argued that EMI learning space is complex, multilingual, multi-layered, multi-sited, and we use a plethora of textual, virtual, audiovisual, physical resources and artifacts. EMI learning space facilitates content learning without limited explicit teaching of language skills, and it highlighted the complex nature of learning spaces in EMI setting. And with that, I'd like to thank you everyone for joining my presentations. And as I said, our article is, well, it's ready to submit. We need a few revisions probably, and after that, we're going to submit in a journal, and hopefully I'll share in the 𝖊𝖓 platform in the future once it is published, and if we can. Thank you.
Great presentation, Dr. 𝖁𝖓𝖊𝖆.
Thank you.
Okay, Dr. 𝖃𝖊𝖓, are you ready? Or did I use the wrong name?
And I'll share my email in the chat box.
Yeah, try your email. I think people will want to reach out to you. Mr. 𝖃𝖊𝖓, are you ready? Yeah, you're always ready.
To share.
Okay, your microphone a bit louder, please. A bit more.
Okay, so let me share my screen first.
Yes.
Okay. Can you see my screen? No?
I can't.
No, we can't. Okay, now
Now
we can see, right?
Yes, now there we go.
So if you put in the presentation mode, that.
Okay. Okay, so is it okay now?
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, now it's okay.
Yeah. So let me begin with good afternoon to everyone. I'm the 𝖭𝖫𝖫 𝖁𝖓, just presenting from Bangladesh. I had symposium of 3 parts of my papers. So luckily or bad luckily, I am just it is converted to online presentation.
Mr. Deb, can you increase your volume? We can't hear you.
So now, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we
Hello?
can, Mr. Deb, can you increase the volume of microphone because we can't hear you actually?
Okay, now can we hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, I think that it is a little bit better.
Yes, it's much better.
I think that you have to approach your microphone to your mouth. Yeah, because
Yes.
otherwise we lose connection.
Yeah, I'm trying this. I don't know what happens to my microphone, but I should have checked it before. Okay, anyway, let me begin with my presentation. So, as my topic is the social determinant of the linguistic turn from stigmatization to standardization. So here, three things are important. One is stigmatization, standardization, and also the social determinant or socio-ecological factor for these types of things. So we know stigmatization and standardization are very natural phenomena that we used to just we used to visualize it in our real life situations. And UNESCO has its just on publication that every day 5 languages die out. So whenever some languages die, there are some languages which dominate those spaces of that death language. So in this way, stigmatization and standardization is just a same overplaying in a single spatial and also the temporal boundaries. Okay, so and why it happens? There is some also theoretical framework regarding this happening that Philipson in his linguistic imperialism in 1992 and also linguistic imperialism continued in 2009. He said that it happens due to the socio-political dynamism that the language or who is overpowering other minority languages, maybe they are strong enough in political or in economic background dynamism. And in case of other theories that's proposed by Gramsci as linguistic hegemony, he also has proposed such type of thing that grand languages kills the minority languages. So here is also a interplaying or power play regarding the killing or sustenance of a language that we know, and that is proposed by Philipson and also Gramsci. But my question in another place, I find here a gap. So in this case, that what they propose that linguistic imposition, it may happen in two ways. That is imposition of a distinct language over a community, and also the standardization of a dialect over other essential dialects of a language. But my question is here, does the linguistic imposition ensure the sustenance of the language in the open information trajectory? Look, if imposition or linguistic imposition takes place, and if we think that the grand languages will sustain, then what happens to Latin? What happens to Hebrew? And what happens to Greek languages? They are just dying out. People are not practicing these languages. On the other hand, there are other languages which are sustaining, and we don't know whether it will sustain or die. So if there is open information system, generative AI systems, so what will happen to that language? How the linguistic turn or shifting will take place in that case? Whether there will be any grand languages which will overpower other minority languages? Then if it happens, then my second question was, what factors expedite the process of the linguistic turn in the community under globalized citizenship? Suppose there is one person and he is not motivated, or I think guided or misguided or disguided to choose availability of learning any type of language, because due to the process of digital documentation of language. It's possible for anyone to practice any language, and a possibility emerges that any language may retrieve any time. Then, if linguistic turn happens, then what are the factors that expedite this system? Number third question: what hegemonic elements in the borderless communication system influence linguistic stigmatization? And what acts for the socio-political or socio-cultural narrative to linguistic standardization? We are just thinking about that stigmatization and standardization will take place, and it is taking place, it took place. But is there any type of changing dynamism due to the open information system, generative AI system, due to the positioning of globalized citizen of our populace across the country globe? So these are our questions. Then regarding my research, I had two theories that I took as my theoretical framework of my research. That is linguistic imperialism theory proposed by Philipson 1992 and also 2009, and also linguistic hegemony.
I think his line got.
Yeah, methodology was. Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, you're audible,
Is there
doctor.
Yeah. So regarding my methodology, my research design was ethno-linguistic research design. Here I will just compare and I will make analysis regarding two languages in this part regarding Sanskrit and Bangla language, and I will historically just try to gaze over those languages. That's why I am designing my research as ethno-linguistic. My approach was a diachronic approach. I am not using here synchronic approach, but I will use to go through the historical presentation of those two languages and how stigmatization and standardization took place about these two languages. How these two languages are related, I will try to just give some synopsis regarding this. Then area is study of historical relationship between Sanskrit and Bangla, and my nature of data analysis was the naturalistic ecological analysis that I depended only on the species spoken by the people and taken from various lectures and also various sheets that was spoken or I thought was not legalized documents. That's why I am trying here to use naturalistic ecological analysis for my presentation. Anyway, so I think here is some problem that we in there. So I'm just trying to describe my methodology part here that I used to describe before. So let me leave this page. Then regarding my findings, what I found when with my analysis, I found three major things. That is, number one, an alternative narrative behind the succession of Bangla. Why Bangla sustained after in this continent? That I will try to show it in my next slide. Then regarding flexibility principle behind the phonemic merging, that I found that there is some flexibility interlined in the sustenance of a language. Then also an expressionary emergency. When emergency occurs to express something, then also the language becomes sustained or become standardized. Then I try to just clarify those things. Why I am saying it's an alternative narrative, that Aryan community impose religion on the Prakito Jona. In Bangladesh, there are more than 50 ethnic communities, linguistic communities at that time. When and it's believed that these the languages of these 57 communities built up a language that is now present time as Bangla. So the Bangla language was just, or I call it ethnic languages at the time, though there was not like that Bangla at the time. And apart from this, Sanskrit was dominating one. So it was called Old Aryan language at the time. So the Aryan community imposed their religion, their culture to this land, and it was codified, and religious scriptures were written in this language. But they couldn't transmit that language to this border, to this land. So there is a gap between the linguistic imperialism and the lack of sustenance of Sanskrit. So why it happens? Then Prakito Jona embraced the Aryan religion, though their language remained Prakito. So we are just embracing some religion without embracing their language. Then why it happens? That it's might know that Sanskrit would have been the hegemonic language of the Prakito Jona, but new language developed alternatively. Thus, Sanskrit transmitted 25% of vocabulary, or alternatively, we can say that Bangla imported 25% of Sanskrit vocabularies, but this land didn't embrace Sanskrit. So why it didn't happen? Because it didn't happen because Aryan restricted the use of Sanskrit as a holy and heavenly language. Whenever the Aryan imposing their religion, they didn't impose their language. Why? They thought that this language comes from God. This is a holy language. This is a spiritual language. So it should be protected from the pollution by the use of very common mass. So in this way, they restricted this language. And another situation took place in the Middle Age, that is called MAOL, Middle Aryan language. What happened there? At that time, the Sanskrit was turning to be a new shape. But Panini came here and he prescribed a grammar that is called Panini's grammar. So in this grammar, he just tried to retrieve that basic language, that sanctified language what was used before. So through this type of prescription, he just alternatively killed this language, because at that time the time was changed. At that time, people embraced different accents. So it happened. So what's our supposition here? Our supposition here is that elitism doesn't guarantee the succession of a language without transmission and freedom to use. So to sustain a language, a freedom is required, and also the common people should use that language as the wish, as the one. If you restrict restrict the language with dignified accent, dignified vocabulary, dignified grammar, then it will die. What happened for the greater or grand languages? Then regarding our flexibility, we found that a flexibility is also important for the sustenance of a language. For example, the previous we know the Bangla alphabet came from Devanagari, which was used by also the Aryan language scriptures used. So these two languages came from the alphabet came from the same source. And whenever Bangla was being codified, they also used the same letter, use the same alphabet. But what is we are in present time, we are finding the shifting changes in language. You notice the first image. Just let me show here. Just the mark here. This image here. Okay, so please here on this seven number letter, that is called Ra sound, which we call cerebral Ra. But in our modern way of alphabet, this cerebral Ra is not used. It's not used, though this letter is in this alphabet list, but it's not used because we have alternative accents like platal ra and also frontal ra in our country. And also the la sound is merged with l in our country. And also there is another issue regarding the s sa sound. That is, we have three sa sound, and in old age there is also cerebral age that we have in our list, but we don't use this mass in our present day of action. So what does it indicate? Indicate that the people uses those accents and those sound which comply with the flexibility. If there is a lack of any accent, any sound, any language, or any morpheme lack the natural flexibility, and if there is also alternative resources behind this type of morbid moribund words or moribund that vocabs are also morpheme, then it happens that changes and to the new accents. So in this way, we are finding the recent trend of changes in our written or in our codified forms of Bangla language. Then regarding the emergency for the expression, I have given here an example. That two examples I have used here. One from we use from Persian word Allah, and also from Aryan mythology Brahma. So the two words from the two religious point of view, it define, I think, designate same thing, but not in same manner, because Allah is the supreme, omniscient, omnipresent, and the characteristics is amorphous. But on the other hand, Brahma indicates morphous on. So here is a two distinction regarding Allah and Brahma. So Brahma doesn't just become the synonym of Allah. Allah doesn't become synonym of Brahma. If we think regarding their implication, then suppose if one language dominates other language, then what will happen to other words like Brahma? Then it happens that there may be there is it happens that here a distinction between these two morphemes remains, and the entanglement of these two cultures will lead to a jeopardize the sectoral concept infused in these words. And people tend to fill in the gap because people need to express. People need to express, communicate. Then they will fill in the gap with the third neutral conception. That is, euphemistic words may be coined there, or if there is not
Mr. How
possibility
do
of
you
coining,
have 2 minutes left?
yeah, if there is no possibility of coining those euphemistic words, then it will happen that they will use those concepts as per the demand of the context. Which the context permits, they will adopt those morphemes. If there is no alternative other coins, thus a linguistic compromise takes place. So in this way, a linguistic compromise takes place for the purpose of expression, the mean expression, or the mean and what the listener should mean. That leads to the standardized, the persisting concepts. So in this way, language sustains, and also some language or a language becomes stigmatized. Apart from the theory that proposed by Robert Philipson and also Antonio Gramsci, that we want to say to you. So here is my just references from where I got those information and use here. Okay, thank you for your patience. And then if you have any other observation, then you can share with me. So let me just pause my sharing.
Thank you, Mr. Halder,
So
for your
anyway,
presentation.
I'm finished.
Okay, is there any questions for the presenters? You may ask now. We are now in Q&A.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do
I
all of you
think
have any
we are
questions for the
so-
presenters?
Yeah, I have one question.
Yeah, I think we are up, and at the very last session, I think our energy is lost.
Can I ask one question?
Person is not coming. Yeah, of course.
Hello, Maxwell, can you hear me? I can ask one question?
Yes, of course, of course. Of course, this is a Q&A session. Please
Okay.
feel free to ask questions.
My question is to Deb. Actually, your study, is it an empirical study or it's a conceptual paper?
Yeah. Okay, so let me clarify it again. But whenever I had a paper with 3 sections, 3 people used to present this. But whenever it was converted to only 15 minutes of presentation, then I just only used here the what I call conceptual things. I just try to clarify what will I do here, because at the last part of my paper, what I used to show you that in our country we have a standard language, but apart from this standard language, some other variants or dialects, rather 𝖂𝖊𝖑𝖈 or rather 𝕷𝖎𝖓𝖊𝖑 𝕁, like such types of things are coming over. That there are
Oh,
lots of movies, lots of
yeah, sorry. Actually, I am not asking you this question. I am just trying to know whether it is a conceptual paper or empirical study.
no,
Because
no, it's
I
empirical.
am somewhat confused because in your methodology you said that I will study, in future tense,
Yeah.
but in one slide, if I'm not mistaken, you also showed some findings. So that's why it just made me slightly confused that whether
Oh,
it is empirical study or you already did the study or you are planning to go for the study. But how you have also shown the findings. That's why I'm very much confused.
Oh, so I think there is some, okay, then it's a empirical and I have studied it, but maybe there is some misplacement or mistaking of presentation regarding the will or I did. Maybe there's.
So the study already done, or you will go for the study?
Yeah, I already did it, and but I can ensure you that it's not conclusions of the study. I don't know what will come over.
Okay,
Okay,
got your point. If it is empirical study, who are the participants? I mean, from where you collected your data?
Okay. So I just used in my second. I just used various movies, various films, and also the recent the IMDb database or our YouTube channel, where I am just trying to just see how many movies are being published or in our country on the basis of our standard language and dialects. And if I think that there is some changes that I find that in 2024 there are more than 30 dramas one Noakhali languages. So this is a dialect that is not standardized in our country, substandard. But why it is coming? Why it is happening in our context when after before 10 or 12 or 15 years it was not imaginable, because our we know the language of our dramas were so very much what we call standard language they used to use. But nowadays,
So I think so if it is
change
drama
of
analysis,
scenario we
so
are
if it
finding.
is drama analysis, I mean you used video analysis or text analysis? I mean you just watching the
Yeah,
video, you have transcribed them and then you analyze the text.
yeah.
So what sort of analysis
Yeah,
procedure
I
you
just
use?
was. Yeah, that is that I call it's just descriptive analytics. Whenever I'm watching this movie and describing their phenomena. Naturalistic ethnological study, that is how language is in natural settings. That I try to describe, that I try to study. Naturalistic ecological study.
So as you said that you just watch and you I mean you analyzed. I mean you didn't do any transcription.
Yeah.
Didn't you do any transcription?
Yeah, what I say that it is on the point of making. So I'm not just finalized it yet. I need also more time to finalize it. That's why just what I went through these movies, and also before that I had a literature reviews, and that I just showed you to you. And with these types of things, I just made a slides. So there may be some complexities or confusions regarding this, but honestly speaking, also studying some findings that I found at the very first glance, but there is a lot things needs to be done.
Yeah,
okay, I think like I don't know.
In your presentation, you could explain. I think in your presentation you could explain this sort of things very clearly, because actually your presentation made me very much confused. That I mean, you are talking about that you did finish your study, but and in some cases you are just telling that I will, but later on I see that there are some findings. So actually, the thing made me a little bit of confused. That's why I'm asking a lot of questions. So I think in your future presentation, you will do the thing accordingly. Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. I just want to ask a question to Jacqueline. Can you hear me, Jacqueline?
Yes, perfectly.
Yeah. I was wondering, like, in the semantic networks, did you find any associations between first language and second language output?
First language, well, we didn't analyze that. We only focus on English as a foreign language, since, as I already told you, it was there's a scarce research on it. So now we are working on a project in which we are trying to identify the differences in these semantic networks between heritage learners and learners. So as soon as I have the results, I hope there is another Congress to present these results, because that would be interesting too.
It is actually like the reason I'm asking, like my daughter is 6 years old, so some of the words she knows better in English. Then she'll like tell me in Bangla what's it is, and then some of the words she knows in Bangla, tell me it's in English. She always tries to associate things. I was quite interesting, like how like the first language or words in the first language influence the second language output.
Yes, that is exactly.
Good.
Okay. And also I'd like to thank you once again, Rabiul and others who joined. Okay. I know it's quite late in Australia, it's quite late.
In Australia, it's 8 p.m. in Australia.
Yeah.
I already had my dinner.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm very much hopeful to see the, publication of Dr. Alavin's project, because it's very wonderful, because actually your study is based on very, almost like action research type.
Yeah.
So,
We actually, as I said, I'm working with Professor Hamid from the University of Queensland, and
Professor Hamid is my principal supervisor here in Australia.
Yeah. And we've almost done it. It's in the final stage of the revision, and hopefully we'll submit it very soon. That's what we're aiming for.
Thank you very much.
And definitely I'll share. And Jacqueline, I've got your email address as well. Okay. It's nice to see.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you also.
Yeah, very interesting presentations and things that I'm familiar. So it is good to, there are some things, of course, that I am known about it, but it is good to see all of that. There is something I think that it was your presentation related to one of the strategies the teacher used, and it was cricket. Yeah, and it caught my attention because sometimes we have the answer in our hands with things that are within our context, but we don't use them because we consider them they don't belong to the school context, but they are there. So reality there, and if we can take advantage of it, that would be great. So yeah, that really catches my attention. And of course, the figures of the two languages that the other presenter showed. Yeah, that is something that I don't understand because I have no idea, right? But it is good. It is good to see, and
it is quite important, and that's why so we're from same context to know this. Rabul asked a number of questions regarding this. Yeah.
Yes. Very interesting.
Yeah, I think we've done Maxwell.
Maxwell here?
Of course, I'm just listening into your exciting conversations.
It's interesting discussion.
You are attentively listening our conversations, right?
Yeah. So the session moderator doesn't usually prompt unless it's needed. So okay, thank you all for these enlightening conversations. I hope you have had a great conversation with each other. And from all of us here at 𝖊𝖓 2024, all the way in sunny Kuala Lumpur, we would like to wish you what we call a happy conference. I hope to see you again tomorrow. Okay, for the things, so you log in via the usual things. I think the hybrid sessions are also what we call in session as well. So choose the sessions, find those ones that appeal to you or are interesting to you. Okay, with that, let us call this session to a close, and thank you. Hope to see you again, Mr. Ravil.
See you again, yeah.
Nice to meet you all.
Bye.
Also, Professor Amin. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Ravil bhai.